Hello, welcome to Fox Sports Lab AFL on this Thursday. The Chief looking fresh. It's not Botox. It must be you didn't watch Wimbledon last night. Which one is it?
I watched a bit of Wimbledon, Dicko, but I'm just excited because I cannot believe we're at round 18 already. This season's flying by.
It is flying. I'm going to touch on tonight's game. So Sydney sitting in 15th position and the Western Bulldogs 7th. So Sydney have been disappointing. Doggies are starting to warm up a little bit. I'm looking forward to the forward line battle, but I want to get your initial thoughts in this game.
False favourites, the Swans, I think. We know the Bulldogs have made a big change at the selection table, dropping Rory Lobb. I agree with it. You get young Sam Darcy back into the lineup, but I think they've got a forward line mix now with Norton back in form, Tamara Ugle-Hagan playing really well, Waitman in good form up forward. I think they've got the sort of lineup that can trouble the Swans. The Swans, I just never know what to expect from them, Dicko. And they've actually got a poor record at the SCG this year. I think they're 3 wins and a draw from 8 games. So, you know, it's not a really tough trip, the SCG, the way it used to be.
Yeah, spot on. And the forward line battle. So you got Amati, McDonald and Franklin in the front half of the Sydney Swans. And you mentioned Ugle-Hagan and Norton, and then you throw Darcy into that mix there. So you're backing in the Doggies to kick the winning score against, obviously, the Sydney forward line.
Yeah, I think they can get it done. And the facts will also tell us that Amati, McDonald and Franklin struggle to work together.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult for McDonald and Amati because Buddy draws so much of the footy. So whether they get that balance right remains to be seen.
So an incredible price when you think about it. The Doggies the outsider in this. But over the last month, the Sydney Swans, number 1 for scoring from centre bounce. So are they thinking, the traders, that they're going to get it done through the middle of the ground? Is that the defining thing in this?
Well, they better kick accurately to keep getting it back to the centre. Because if there aren't many centre bounces and there's a low-scoring game, they could be in trouble.
And let's touch on Friday. So this is huge. So 3rd versus 4th. Melbourne-Brisbane. Melbourne made a big selection call. You mentioned Lobb for the Doggies. So no Grundy, going with Gawn and then Van Rooyen to obviously support him in that role. Firstly, do you support that selection that Melbourne have made?
I think it's definitely worth having a look at. I think that sometimes they can look a little bit top-heavy and maybe not have the run that they need. But we need to understand what's at stake in this game for both teams. I mean, the D's are clinging tenuously to that 4th spot. Yep. And all of a sudden, if they drop this, there are a host of teams waiting to take 4th away from them. And for Brisbane, it's probably even bigger. A chance to win at the MCG, which has been a hoodoo ground for them. But also, it would give them a 3-game break on the chasing pack. So basically locks down 3rd spot and keeps them within a couple of games of the top 2 in case one of them slips up.
And a good battle. So most of the punters out there look for the goal kickers. So Brisbane over the last month have taken an average of 18.5 marks inside 50. You can't see that happening with May and Lever down there and the way Melbourne are defending at the moment, can you?
No, maybe not. But, you know, a lot's going to depend on Melbourne's midfield, how much pressure, how much control of the game they have, and how much pressure they can put on the Lions. All
right, let's touch on the MCG game on Saturday. So Collingwood and Fremantle. We know what Collingwood produce, so there's no point even deep diving into what they do. They're just awesome. And as you said, there's a bit of daylight after Collingwood and Port. But Fremantle, the interesting one. MCG, been disappointing on the road this year, been disappointing at home. This is probably a cricket score, wouldn't you think?
Well, I have to disagree with you off the top, Digger. You said, well, we know what we get with Collingwood, but you're not sure about Freo. I know what I'm getting with Freo. I'm getting nothing. They are giving donuts. They have been the disappointment of 2023. After a promising year last year, we all thought they'd be trying to force their way into the top 4. They are no good. So take any margin you like on this one.
And Luke Ryan, he'll have his hands full. He took 18 intercept possessions last week.
They need 7 of him.
7 Luke Ryans, please. That's the mix. Big week for Gold Coast, so they take on the Saints. And interesting, I want to get your thoughts. I haven't spoken to you at Fox this week about it, but interesting to move you on now only after a 30-point loss in Adelaide, and we did that game. So talk to me. You've been in the walls and you've been at the footy club and the governance side of things. Talk to me about that decision at this time of the year.
It's interesting, isn't it? I guess what they're saying is once you come to that decision, there's no point holding off until the end of the year because you may as well get busy making changes and looking at the other decisions that then need to flow on. But it sounds to me a little bit like because they came out in support last week, the president's been away, or the chairman's been away. So it almost sounds to me like they've been waiting for him to get back so they can have a full face-to-face board meeting and make a serious decision about this. And in the end, I guess another loss. It was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It put their CEO, Mark Evans, in a difficult position because one day he's saying, no, we're all behind Stuart Gill, and the next day you're saying, yeah, he's gone, we need to move on. It's not an easy position to be in, but, rather than slowly ripping the Band-Aid off, you've just got to yank it straight off and move on, and that's what they've decided to do. It's interesting because they're starting as favourites, Diggo, and we know that teams that change coaches have a really good record that next week, but boy, I wouldn't like to be taking a short quote about them.
So are you tipping Gold Coast or the Saints in this one?
Oh, I tip the Saints. I think they're a good price in this one.
Okay. All right. Carlton, I'm actually going the Gold Coast, but I'm going to skip straight over that because I don't want to get a clip from you. Carlton and Port, this terrific game. When you think about it, Carlton pretty much had that big win before the bye, and then they've started to hit their straps a little bit. Game plan's been a bit different last week. Gained 160 metres on their opposition in Freo last week. So using it a bit by hand. So they have tweaked it a little bit. But coming up against Port, we saw them last week in the second half, put 9 in the third quarter. It's hard to see Carlton beating them because they're going on a 14-game winning run.
I can sense you getting seduced by the Blues again, though. You were so staunch in the first half of the season, then you dropped off, and now you're starting to get back on. What we've got to remember is, yes, they're playing good footy, and they are, and they should be. But they're beating up against teams that they should be beating, that are below them on the table or around them on the table. So this is the sort of test we actually need to see Carlton face. I think Port will be too good.
I'm with you on Port on that one. I'm intrigued at this game because Zach Merritt plays 200 games. Brad Scott's done amazing things with Essendon, come up against his brother and Chris in Geelong. GMHBA Stadium, what do you give them, a 4-goal head start?
Yeah, it's big, isn't it? It's big. And the other thing is, if the Cats win, they jump above the Bombers. So the Bombers are fifth, knocking on the door of the top 4. You lose this one and you might find yourself struggling to stay in the 8. Such is the importance of all these games. Hard to tip against Geelong down there. I like the way the Bombers are playing. They've got leg speed. They move the ball quickly, which could trouble Geelong, but a thin ground down at GMHBA. The Cats play it well. I just refuse to tip against them at home.
And I'm with the Cats as well. So I just touched on Monday. Are they starting to make their run now? They're sitting in 8th position, you mentioned. They can jump right up to 5th in terms of a win. Is this where their run comes?
Well, they still have got a few games left at GMHBA. If it doesn't come now, it's not coming.
Yep.
So, this is going to be a really important stretch for them. I still don't think they can contend for the flag, but I think they can play finals.
Yep. All right. Now, Adelaide and the Giants, we got quite excited, if you remember, Chief, about Adelaide and their form early in the season. Not sure where you think they're at now, but the Giants have certainly proved they're probably one of the hardest teams to beat on their day.
Giants are coming. They're starting to play some decent footy, although they had a struggle to get over the Hawks. Adelaide perplexed me. So good at the Adelaide Oval, so ordinary away from home. A little bit like Brisbane still trying to learn to win at the MCG. Adelaide have got to learn to win interstate. But this one's at the Adelaide Oval. So you've got to go with the Crows at home.
Yeah, Crows for me as well. North Melbourne Hawks, let's brush over the last couple of games.
Next.
17 v 16. You going with the Hawks?
Yep.
Me too. All right, West Coast and Richmond to round it out. So let's go on nearest the pin to just for the golfing fans out there.
Well, it was very close last week. We spoke about last week's game. I went 75 points. They lost by 81. So that wasn't a bad stab. I think this one will be around 55 points.
Okay, all right. The over and unders. We did it last week.
Yep.
You said you lost your memory. Do you remember what you did last week? You had a win. No, you did well.
No,
I'm not even going to go there.
No, the massive unders. The massive unders this week, Dicko.
Gold
Coast.
Is it?
Gold
Coast.
Massive unders. I wouldn't be touching them.
Okay, all right. Don't touch them. They're on the nose. I'm going with the overs, the doggies tonight.
Yep.
I cannot believe even money plus. It's just, I won't say what I want to say because
morals.
Responsibly, they are seriously, I cannot believe the overs. But anyway, Chief, outstanding work. Look forward to, obviously, the in retrospect on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Catch you then.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.